It had been years, decades, really, since I last stood in front of Daniel's house. The old brick facade looked the same, weathered yet sturdy, but something about it felt different. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was the years between us, the way life had carried us down separate rivers, and now, somehow, brought me back to this shore. I hesitated, my fingers hovering over the doorbell. What was I even doing here? Was this a mistake? A foolish attempt to make peace with the past? The invitation had come unexpectedly, tucked inside a plain envelope in my mailbox. No return address, just his familiar handwriting. Neat, deliberate. I'd like to see you. If you're willing. No expectations. No pressure. I had read those words at least a dozen times before finally deciding to come. Even now, standing at his doorstep, my heart wasn't sure whether to race forward or retreat. I pressed the doorbell. A few seconds passed, then I heard movement inside. The door opened slowly, and there he was, Daniel. Time had changed him, but not in ways that made him unrecognizable. His hair, once thick and dark, was streaked with gray, his face lined in places I didn't remember. But those eyes, deep brown, steady, were the same. The moment they locked onto mine, something unspoken passed between us, something old but not forgotten. "You came," he said, his voice softer than I remembered. I nodded. I almost didn't. A small, knowing smile touched his lips. "But you did." He stepped aside, gesturing me in, and I crossed the threshold into a house filled with echoes of a past I had long tried to forget. The living room smelled faintly of cedar and something else. Coffee, maybe. Books lined the shelves, some familiar, some new. A fire crackled in the stone fireplace, casting a warm, flickering glow over the room. "You still like your tea with honey?" Daniel asked, already moving toward the kitchen. I blinked at the casual familiarity of the question. "You remember that?" He glanced back, amused. "I remember a lot of things." I lowered myself onto the leather couch, running my fingers absently over the seam. It felt surreal, being here again, in a space that once held so many memories. Memories of love, of laughter, of late nights talking until sunrise. And of course, of the things that eventually tore us apart. I took a slow breath. So, why now? Daniel set 2 steaming mugs on the coffee table and settled into the armchair across from me. He leaned forward slightly, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. For a long moment, he didn't answer. Then, finally, "Because I didn't want to leave things the way they were." A lump formed in my throat. "Daniel, that was a long time ago." "I know." His gaze didn't waver. "But do you ever think about it? About us?" I swallowed hard. Of course I had. Maybe more than I cared to admit. But the past was the past, wasn't it? Wounds heal. People move on. Or at least, they're supposed to. "Sometimes," I admitted. "But I figured you didn't." He let out a quiet chuckle, shaking his head. "Oh, trust me, I have." A comfortable silence settled between us, the fire popping in the background. I looked around the room again, my eyes landing on a framed photo on the mantel. It was a picture of him and a woman I didn't recognize. "Is she?" I trailed off, motioning toward the photo. Daniel followed my gaze and nodded. "My late wife, Julie." I blinked. Late? 3 years ago. Cancer. The air between us shifted, heavy with something deeper than words. "Daniel, I'm so sorry." "Thank you." He gave a small, sad smile. "She was incredible. You would have liked her." Something in my chest ached. I had spent so long keeping my distance from his life, assuming I had no place in it anymore. And yet here we were, sitting across from each other, talking like two people who had never truly lost their connection. I reached for my tea, the warmth grounding me. "So is that why you reached out? Because of her?" "In a way," he said. "Losing her made me realize how much I regretted letting certain people go, how much I wished I'd done things differently." He exhaled. "How much I still care about you." My breath caught. The weight of his words settled over me like a soft but undeniable force. I hadn't expected this, hadn't expected him to be so open, so vulnerable. And the truth was, I wasn't sure what I felt. I set my mug down carefully. "Daniel, I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything. I just wanted you to know." I nodded slowly, looking down at my hands. It was a lot to process, a lot to unpack. But for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like running from it. Outside, the wind howled, rattling the windows. Inside, the fire burned steady, casting long shadows on the walls. And in the space between us, something old and familiar stirred. Something I wasn't ready to name just yet. Silence stretched between us, thick with the weight of things left unsayed. The fire crackled, its warmth filling the room, but the warmth in my chest was different. Uncertain, hesitant. I traced the rim of my mug with my fingertip, avoiding Daniel's gaze. How was I supposed to respond to something like that? He had just told me he still cared about me after all these years, and maybe, just maybe, I had spent too long pretending I didn't feel the same. I cleared my throat. "Daniel, I don't even know where to begin." "Start anywhere," he said softly. "Or nowhere. Just stay a little longer." I met his eyes then, those deep brown eyes that had once been my whole world. There was no pressure in them, just a quiet plea. And against my better judgment, against the logic that told me this was a door best left closed, I nodded. "Okay," I said. "I'll stay." A flicker of relief passed over his face, and he leaned back in his chair, letting out a breath like he'd been holding it in for years. We talked for hours. At first it was small things, how his job had changed, how I had picked up painting again, how the world felt so different now than when we were younger. Then the conversation drifted into deeper waters. "Do you ever think about it?" I asked quietly. "It?" "Us." Daniel's lips pressed together, like he was measuring his words before releasing them. "All the time," he admitted. "More than I should, probably." "Even after Julie?" He sighed. "Loving her didn't erase what we had, just like losing her didn't bring it back. It just made me realize how complicated love is, how you can love someone completely and still have unfinished pieces of your heart elsewhere." He looked at me. "I think you were always one of those pieces." I inhaled sharply, my fingers tightening around my mug. It was overwhelming, hearing it spoken so plainly. I had spent so long convincing myself that we were nothing more than a memory, something filed away under past lives. But maybe that wasn't true. Maybe we had just been waiting for the right time to finish the conversation we never got to have. I swallowed hard. "Then why did we fall apart, Daniel?" His expression darkened slightly, and I could see the ghosts rising between us. "Because I was young and stupid. Because I thought love was something I could walk away from and rebuild somewhere else. And I thought you would be fine without me." I let out a bitter laugh. "You thought I would be fine?" He flinched, but nodded. "You were always stronger than me. At least that's what I told myself." I stared at him, the weight of old heartbreak pressing against my ribs. You left me, Daniel. And I had to wake up every day pretending that was okay. I know, he said, voice rough. And I hate that I put you through that. I looked down at my lap, my throat tight. Part of me wanted to push him away again, to guard the scars that had taken so long to heal. But another part, one I wasn't ready to admit existed, wanted to reach out and touch his hand to see if it still felt like home. Why now? I whispered. Because we don't have forever, he said simply. And I don't want to waste whatever time we do have left pretending you don't still matter to me. His honesty cut through me, raw and real. I had spent so much time building walls against this moment, convincing myself I was over him. But here he was, tearing those walls down brick by brick. I exhaled, leaning back into the couch. The fire flickered, casting shadows across the room. It felt like the past and present had collapsed into one space, forcing me to face the truth I had been running from for years. I don't know what this means, Daniel, I admitted. I don't even know how I feel right now. That's okay, he said, his voice gentle. Just don't walk away yet. I looked at him, really looked at him. The lines on his face, the quiet sadness in his eyes, the way he was waiting, not pushing, not demanding, just hoping. And against all logic, against all the years we had lost, I found myself nodding. I won't, I whispered. The ghosts between us weren't gone, but maybe, just maybe, we were finally ready to face them. The fire had burned down to embers, glowing softly in the dimly lit room. Outside, the rain had stopped, leaving the world still and quiet. But inside, in the space between Daniel and me, there was nothing still about the emotions swirling between us. I could feel the weight of his gaze on me, expectant yet patient. He had laid his heart bare, and now the choice was mine. I swallowed hard. Daniel, I don't know how to do this. He tilted his head slightly. To what? Go back, I admitted. Undo the years, rewrite the past, pretend like I don't remember how much it hurt when you walked away. His eyes darkened with regret. I don't want to pretend, and I don't expect you to forget. But I'd be lying if I said I haven't thought about what it would be like if we had another chance. Another chance. The words echoed in my mind, sweet and terrifying all at once. I sighed, standing up from the couch and wrapping my arms around myself as I walked toward the window. The night outside was dark, and the reflection in the glass showed me something I wasn't sure I wanted to see. Me, standing in my ex's house, listening to the words I had once longed to hear. You hurt me, Daniel, I said softly, still looking at my own reflection. For years, I convinced myself that I was fine, that I didn't miss you, that I didn't wonder what it would be like if things had turned out differently. I turned back to face him. But the truth is, I did. I do. His breath hitched slightly, and he stood up too, taking a step toward me. Then let's stop pretending. I let out a small, sad laugh. It's not that easy. I know, he said, his voice gentle. But tell me this. Do you feel anything when you look at me? I hesitated, my heart pounding. I had spent years locking those feelings away, refusing to give them space to breathe.